Preface to a pocket discussion and diminutive history of Hood Dragon Ball Z. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. To find out more or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.com. Prefatory preference to the listener. I just killed that gallon of milk. Mark Ripito. No ripple toes. Toes linear. Toes plumb lined up. Preface 1. Section 1. To the listener. Extracted from the registry of the prerogative court of PL_Cashworks. Section 1. Manipule 1. What is the purpose of history? Walking through the foothills of Yunnan province in search of tea, I was gazing westward across to the many snow-capped peaks, contemplating the course of Dragon Ball Z in the journey to the west, when I bumped into a truly ancient nigga. I said, "Oops, my bad. I didn't see you there," on account of his height, being that he was of truly minuscule proportion, as is common to the Asiatic Orientals, who in their youth subsist on the grain which is grown in those parts, and the salamanders that do run dry, as they are wont to, in decades of low rainfall, the salamanders being themselves still fairly plentiful, but physically dry, as in the quality of their skin, lacking the requisite moisture which would otherwise allow them to provide the water for various inner alchemical practices that result in a greater abundance of a substance pronounced similarly to cobalamin, otherwise known as the vitamin B12, Bravo 1, 2, the most chemically and indeed alchemically complex of all the vitamins. To reiterate, I said, "Oops, my bad. I didn't mean to bump into you there." "Mean," he said. "Means. Mean. Means. Means. Mean. Means. Mean. Means. Means." This is a direct quotation, so please bear with me. It's important to many groups of historians not to misrepresent direct quotations from a primary source. So in order to respect their quote-unquote culture, we will remain as true as possible to the truth, as they refer to it as, that being the quantitative truth. To continue, the quotation means, mean, means, means, mean, means, means, mean, 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 mean, means, nephew. It's the ends that count. For real. The ends. And you know, we always ready. We always ready. We stay ready, so we ain't gotta get ready. You know what I'm saying? For real, for real. But you must know, on this journey, you know, what you know is that, I must bid you farewell. And before we part, I gotta give it up to you like this, there ain't no such thing as beginnings, It's only the ends that count, You end how you start. Remember that, So, show me where you start, and then we can find the means that justify the ends that you arrived at, you see. This is a heavy game right here, man. I hope you can receive this. I hope. Because you can only do 8 things anyway. In music, that is, After 8, you just gotta, make the end reflect the beginning, you see. Unless you did 12, in which case you would do 12 things and then start over. Or 10. But we don't do that shit. We do 8. So if you do 8 things in music, you gotta just start that shit right back, run it back. Reflect the beginning, you see. You exist in between these two extremes simultaneously. You can't even help it, So you won't understand what the end stands on until you see it, because it's a result. It stands on accomplishments. I have never seen nobody do nothing like this before, through sound. This shit, this is amazing here, you are what you have when you stop doing what you did to get what you got. That's what we know, Grown men play a chess game and a go game on the end game when you get game, not just to be playing. Because, we could be sitting up acting like we about to finna do something all day. And that's humans are judged by their outcomes, the results. The results determine the future. And the future is not an end. Low-key, there ain't no such thing as the end. The end is just a new start. You start how you finish. So here goes a mystery. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do. Do, nigga. Do, say it twice. 2 times, twice. 1, 2. Do. Music is all about dough, like bread. But 7 heavens. 7 heavens on one throne, equals 8. You get that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on one throne equal 8. And I bid you farewell. The end is the result. And the results are the evidence of one's ability. Ability has no end. You start to know how, when you know how, when it gracefully bows out the end and allows its lessons to instruct the learned, okay? So we can see you forever on a clear day over here. And hey, and if I can't teach you nothing, I can't reach you, the revolution is water into wine, a tree to a house, results. And very rarely do you ever see in history revolutions reap the benefits for the revolutionaries. You in a Renaissance, act like you know. And then he dipped out. Direct quotation. He did actually say that as he left. And then he dipped out. His last words. What did that nigga mean by all that about the means? The means and the ends. The repetition of the means and the lack of repetition of the ends comparatively to the means. And conversely, and quite possibly even convexly, though decidedly not concavely, you, dear listener, tell me, and I mean that wholeheartedly, genuinely, veracitously. That was not a rhetorical statement. Tell me. Write me a letter at 47 West 79th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60620. No, I do not mean address a letter to 47th West 79th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60620. That is a JJ Fish and Chicken. Not a JJ's Fish and Chicken, which is a wholly and totally different establishment, which we will not be herein discussing of. We'll be discussing of it? No. We won't be discussing of it at all. Not in the least. But I digress. Do not send me a letter, nor any postage of any kind, to this address for the purpose of contacting me regarding exactly, precisely, generally, roughly, or any other type of surface about what that nigga meant about all the means and the end, the repetition of the means and the lack of repetition of the ends comparatively, and conversely, quite possibly even convexly, though decidedly not concavely. You may, of course, send any packages you like of a different nature. I'm not here to sway or dissuade you on that matter, whatever that matter may be. Do not address me a letter at 47 West 79th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60620, nor any postage of any kind for the purpose of contacting me, as this is a JJ Fish and Chicken located just some 79 feet to the west of the Sitco gas station, and directly to the east. The sun rises in the east of the Boost Mobile, which exists in very close and rather deep proximity to the intersection of West 79th Street and South Lafayette Avenue, because they will not reach me. They will not reach me as I do not reside there presently, nor has that ever been my residence. Not only do I not reside there, but they do not hold packages, envelopes, or any kind of postage for their patrons, unless things have changed in recent times. But I should think that if any change were to occur in this domain, I would be among the first, if not the very primarch of knowledge in this regard, or at least that is my very hope, dear listener, my very fond hope indeed. After all, who should they alert before me? Tell me if you know. That statement was, however, rhetorical. Do not tell me if you know, unless it is extremely pertinent and time is of the utmost essence, which if it is, you will be, by designs of God and man, enabled to possess the means and motivation to do so. No, I tell you, dear listener, to write me a letter at 47 West, 79th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60620, and send it. Now, send it not by mail, but by the proper procedure, which is, as all good sense, etiquette, and decency would dictate, to jot down the answer on the Welcome Illinois Snap EBT customers posting, which is on the interior portion of the exterior-facing window, which faces north, right next to the portion of the sign which states, the Restaurant Meal Program, open parentheses, RMP, that is, Romeo Mike Papa, close parentheses, allows Illinois SNAP EBT households who are 60 years of age or older, disabled, or homeless to use their link card to purchase meals from this restaurant. In this way, I will be sure to see your answer as to what he meant in a location suitable for the problem it addresses, as for what he meant by the ends. That part seems clear enough to me, as I'm sure it does to you. Translucent. The end. The end. The end is the termination. The finis, not the penis. No relation. You can tell this by the vowel quantity. And so, before we can embark on any exploratory or expeditionary reconnoitering of a history of Hood Dragon Ball Z, pocket or otherwise, we must first make plain our ends, so that we may thereby derive the means from which we are fit to accomplish them. There are many ends to historical narratives, some of which, on account of differentiated ends, produce differentiated means, and some which, on account of the same ends, have different means, and some yet, which, on account of differentiated ends, have the same means, and some further still yet, which, on account of the same ends, have the same means. To this point, the Persian sage, who could support more parasites by his hospitality than any other Persian sage of similar stature, both intellectually and physically, if he so wanted to do so, not that he necessarily did, described to me how he was visited by a dream. Dreams are, of course, masculine, so it is proper to refer to the dream by the masculine pronoun, or if one is readily available to you through whatever method, indefinite article of one masculine type, as explicated by Georgius Philo in his 1881 commentary on Virgil's Aeneid, Book 6, lines 268 through 281, stating, Secundo Homero, intellegis sane quid sibi validit est Virgilius, his versis Homerum secutus est. And with Homer, dreams are masculine. Not that I'm speaking here grammatically, but spiritually. He, and the dream, told this Persian sage in question that before one writes what they say, they should write what they mean. And this is what I mean to do. To at the end of this history, a pocket history, is its beginning. Secondarily to this, being the first number, as the Pythagoreans would state, that 1 is not a number, so the first number being the second, to provide an account to boost the sauce and augment the demitas, that is to say, a leisurely diversion. And now we will begin part the first, Dragon Ball Z On Mode Street by Samir 34, aka always known as Tyson Mike, and why I read it but refused to learn how to pronounce French or even understand it beyond what God will give me.